Hey everybody, welcome to the Political Vigilante. My name is Graham Elwood. I am here with the independent outsider, also known as Dave Denton, who is a Patreon backer. This is what you get at the $25 level. You get to do a one-on-one interview with me once a month, and we'll talk about whatever stuff you want to talk about. So Dave, first of all, thank you for supporting this and what we're doing. And tell us a little bit about you have your own channel called Independent Outsider. Is that correct?
Yes. Basically, what I did was I had been thinking about doing a channel for a long time, and I didn't know what direction to go into. But then finally, when I decided to dim exit, I was like, okay, I knew what my name was going to be because I've always felt like I've been an outsider wherever I am
Right.
for whatever reason. And when I went independent, I was like, okay. And even as an independent, I don't know if I'm an independent because my the registration card says I'm independent, but online it says I'm a Democrat. So I think they may be doing some shenanigans there, but you know, um,
Yeah, the
basically I
Democrats
have
don't
to
want
do
you to become an independent. They don't want they don't want to give that
right.
up.
Or they want to confuse me in case I want to dim enter, in case Tulsi gets in.
Right.
I don't know, whatever. When I started doing this, I started following a couple of people like Stevie and Jamal Thomas,
Uh-huh.
and I started to actually talk a little bit with Jamal, and he hooked me up with a forum called Left Forum, and that's something that happens every year in New York City. I went, and immediately I was blown away because when I see Richard Wolff right in front of me right away, and I get to ask him a question, and Chris Hedges, I'm like, well, these are my people, and I get to meet the person that I actually voted for president, Jill Stein. I'm
Wow.
like, oh my God, this is the thing, this is the thing I want to do. Um, and then I started to talk to people online, um, and just it went from there.
When did you start following like independent media on YouTube? Like how did you find me? Did you find me through Jimmy Dore or something like that or
I actually found you through Stevie.
Oh.
She introduced me to you. Um, when I first hit independent media, it was the Young Turks probably back in 2011, 2012, and I didn't know because of the way the set was. I didn't know how real it was, and then I found out that Cenk was with CNBC, and I'm like, oh, okay, he's for real. And then he left CNBC, and I was like, oh, okay, he's really for real.
Right.
So, um, and then I do have a couple of issues with the Young Turks as far as the whole Justice Dems go. I
Uh-huh.
think it is a little bit of a conflict,
Yeah.
but you know, everybody serves a purpose, and everybody's going in their direction. So you have to take bits and pieces from what they're doing and take the pieces that you want. I mean, I love the fact that they're back in Paula Jean. Paula Jean seems like a real candidate to me.
Yeah.
Everybody else, I'm not sure. I don't like the whole grouping people together and say, okay, these are the Justice Dems, these are our candidates. I don't think that's the way to go. I like to evaluate each person individually.
Right. All right. Well, that's excellent, man. I'm glad you've joined in the progressive media fray and talking about it. It's been great meeting all you guys. Like the super chat Sundays have been really cool, and meeting people like Arabella, God's favorite atheist, and some of the other folks, and that they're doing. Um, Jenny Lynn, who and a lot of the other people on the that have come. It's been really a cool community to be a part of. So what topics? What do you want to talk about, man?
Well, first off, I want to talk about what I've been doing lately.
Okay.
Um, there are three things that I've been working on. Well, other than my channel and other than talking to people online and that kind of stuff, I am a labor rep
Oh.
for a postal union,
Okay.
and if you've noticed, I don't know if anyone's noticed out there that the postal services may be dropping a bit. Um, the United States Postal Service has recently, since July, they are when someone leaves a bid, they are not refilling that bid and they're just eliminating that bid. So they're basically getting rid of jobs in that way. And every single union that I know of is they're grieving those things, and it's a very complicated and it's a very complicated process, an involved process where we have to get all these kinds of reports and things for each individual bid. So it's very time intensive, and I believe we had 35. So a lot of these are going to the third step in the grievance process now. So if you guys speak up, I also wanted to mention too that Puerto Rico mail, it's going to take a while to get to Puerto Rico. Please, please, I know people mean well. Do not send perishable items through the mail. They're not going to get through, and they're actually going to ruin. And careful with. I know people need water, bottled water, but if you send that and you don't package it well, it's going to break through the box.
Right.
The second thing with the there was something that happened in July. Two local guys, two local politicians in my state, Peter King and Tom Suozzi, they decided to back an amendment in the National Defense Authorization Act, which is basically the Military Spending Act.
Mm-hmm.
We're already spending $30 million to clean up areas in which the military has polluted.
Right.
They decided to add an amendment to next year's spending to add another $12 million to that. And it was specifically to clean up the Bethpage plume in Bethpage, New York. What happened there
Which is what?
was
what is
Northrop Grumman is a company that was owned by the Navy, and they
what is Bethpage plume though? What is that? Is that a
the
lake?
Bethpage plume is contaminated groundwater, and it's spreading.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and it's contaminated with something called TCE. I can't pronounce exactly what it is, but it's a chemical that was used as an anesthetic back in World War II by the British, and actually used as a degreaser now. But it's a toxic chemical. So, I'm trying to figure out two things. Number one, what we can do to help clean it ourselves, or what we need to do to push for, because this has been going on for 40 years. And number two, exactly where the money's going.
Right. All right. Well, those are two good things to bring up. I want to backtrack a little bit though, since you're a union,
Sure.
A labor rep. I actually have some questions for you.
Sure.
So because the corporate state has been, for the better part of 30, 40 years, been trying to demonize unions, has been trying to say that, oh, they're bad for business and all this other thing, which really all it is the one percenters saying that we don't want to give working class people benefits and everything like that. And when I always say, when people badmouth unions, I always go, well, if you don't like the weekends and a 40-day work week and all these other benefits that unions fought for years ago, then I guess we should get rid of unions. So in your opinion as a guy, how long have you been a union rep?
I've been a union rep for almost 10 years.
Okay, and you've been in this union for how many years?
I've been working for the Postal Service for almost 20 years, and I've been in this particular union since 2007 because I changed positions.
Okay. So let me ask you this. What have you seen as a guy that's been a labor rep and been in a union? How have you seen the corporate state, the one percenters, whatever you want to call them, how have you seen them try to erode your specific union?
The way I see it is that, I see it at a local level. I don't really see it as a national level. I mean, at the national level, we as our union backed Hillary Clinton, which I disagree with. I think it
Hey, Dave,
actually.
real quick, I'm sorry. Is it possible for you to look right into the camera? That a little better? Okay.
Am I doing the eye thing?
You're doing the eye thing. You're looking down like that. So I want to make sure we get to see you. So
Good.
yeah, we're good.
Okay.
So you guys backed Hillary Clinton. Of course you did.
Yeah, we backed Hillary, and to me, that's a way to erode the unions anyway because it makes us look bad, and she's not really for us in the first place. She really isn't. I originally, when I started, uh, and as a postal worker, I thought she had our back.
Right.
She doesn't. Um, what I see happening at the local level, the best way to erode any bit or any union at all is to have people fighting amongst themselves. And I think that George Carlin said it best. You just pick any group, gender, race, the type of job you have, sexual orientation, whatever you want to pick, and you see it in the mainstream media all the time too. You see the stories that what are we talking about now? We're talking about Kaepernick, and we're talking about Harvey Weinstein,
Right.
and it's being jammed down our throats. So you get people fighting amongst themselves, whether it be nationality, race, whatever. Oh, he's treating me poorly because I'm this or that or the other thing, and they try to turn the management tries to turn the worker against the union.
So they've been doing that internally with you guys, the postal union. They've been getting you guys to fight amongst yourselves.
Oh, that's something that happens all the time. They love it. They love when people fight amongst themselves.
Right.
They really do. I mean, the first thing that people have to do, honestly, is be personally responsible for themselves. They have to come to work. They have to do the right thing. They have to work. They can't, stand around and do nothing. And then when they do that, when there's a legitimate gripe, come to. If you're in my union, you come to me.
Right.
You put in a statement and we investigate it. That's the way it's done. That's the way it's done. And what management loves is these petty little fights. Well, this person's looking at my man, or why did she get 5 minutes extra, break time and I didn't get that, or why did this happen? Why are they looking at me and not at her? Blah blah blah. That is what management loves, and that's what I would say politicians love,
Mm-hmm.
to divert our attention from the real issues.
Yeah, it's an excellent point you bring up, and it's funny because I've a lot of folks such as yourself that were like Dem exit because the Democrats have always been the union party. We're the pro-union party. We're pro-worker, and really they're not anymore. The Democratic Party is the corporate party that says, again, you see the arrogance of the Democrats in that they just assume, hey, union guy, you better vote for us. You have no other choice. You can't. That's their whole thing. Hey, black community, better vote for us because they're all racist. It was like Nina Turner said, when she was talking about Hillary, referred to the black vote as her firewall. She's like, we're not. She goes, you don't just get the black vote. You got to earn it. Nina Turner said that.
Right.
And so it's interesting that, and then you're seeing, how Trump treated the union guy from Carrier, when they made that backdoor deal, and he just went after a union guy publicly, which is just unbelievable to me. So,
it's unheard of, actually.
Yeah.
And nobody said anything.
I know. He's not really held accountable by anybody because the Democrats have no real resistance. If the Democrats went back to being the working class party, the People's Party, if they came in and did as Jill Stein, the woman you and I both voted for, her Green New Deal was like union jobs making all of this green energy, that'll put this whole country back on track. You would have all of a sudden all these hardcore red state Trumpers going, yeah, I'm in with the environment because it just gave me a $25 an hour job.
Right, right. And it's hilarious that the one person that fought for unions during the 2016 election the most, he's he's touted as not being a Democrat. The Democrats say Bernie's not a Democrat.
Well, he isn't.
Say what you want, bad, good, bad, or indifferent about Bernie, and I got my issues with Bernie too, but he was the only one, other than Jill Stein, to actually go in picket lines, to actually go and protest among labor.
Yeah.
So
It's funny. It's like it's the Democratic Party uses Bernie. He's there. He's very convenient. I mean, he is not a Democrat. He's an independent, right? So he became a Democrat just to run in the primary and then left, and he's an independent. So they always say that like he's not a Democrat, and it's like in some ways today now that's a compliment because the Democratic Party is pretty reprehensible, I think. And so It's funny. He sticks up for unions. So does Jill Stein, and they're both touted as bad Americans, or they're socialists, or they're Kremlin puppets, or whatever. And it's like that. It's mystifying to me that we're literally that was the boogeyman that was used to try to dismantle labor in the 30s. Was these unions are socialist, and they did it in my business. They did it in the entertainment industry. These socialist, it's just like red baiting scare tactics, and they're doing it again. And it's really just to hide the fact that they don't want to take care of the richest country in the history of the world doesn't want to take care of its people.
And I mean, race is used very conveniently by both sides. But what you have to realize too is that back when the unions were being developed, a lot of business owners, they didn't want the unions to develop because it would unite all different races and all different kinds of people. They didn't want that.
No, that's the other. Yeah, unions were so about everybody. They're about
Right.
all people of all ethnicities, and they don't want that. They need us divided. They need the country segregated. But so these are so that was the. I don't want to spend exclusively time on the union thing because obviously we're in agreement and we need to bring back more unions because everybody talks about the 50s and 60s were this golden age of American business. They never the conservatives that talk about that, the thing they always miss is, well, yeah, it was the most regulated era. There was a lot of strong unions during that era. That's when America was flourishing, when it had regulation and unions. So
Right.
Obviously, we'd like to see that brought back, and hopefully a real progressive. Maybe it is Tulsi Gabbard. Maybe it is Nina Turner. I don't know. But
Well, one thing too, it also is that we need to kind of allow ourselves to trust people every once in a while, because I know Tulsi said something about the Russians, and and people were like, "Oh my God, it's happening again!"
right.
Everybody needs to calm down and just, allow Tulsi to be Tulsi and do, I mean, I was a little nervous when she mentioned the whole Russia thing too, but give her a break.
Yeah, I mean, she's also right. She's I think she was on the House Foreign Relations Committee, so part of her job would be to be part of this Russia investigation. Is she part of the Red Scare propaganda machine? I don't think so. But yeah. All right, so let's move on to the second thing that you brought up, which is this money to clean up. Where's the money coming from? Where is it going? And I'll just preface this is, the military has a long, fruitful history of destroying the environment and then, taxpayers cleaning it up. So
Right.
Go into a little more specifics about what you've at least encountered or researched, and give us some more information on what that is. Because I, for one, am not that familiar with this specific case that you're talking about.
Basically, what happened with it? It was pretty much all I had. This is pretty much all I had.
Don't forget to look into the camera.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right. It's all right.
I'm like drifting towards my nose. But I don't really need that. Basically, the Grumman Navy site dumped a bunch of chemicals in the ground, and it contaminated the groundwater.
Okay.
And now politicians are concerned. Actually, the concern started in like 2011 and 2012.
Mm-hmm.
So this has been going on for 35, 40 years, and now they're concerned. Um, so now there's all this money being spent. Now TCE or triglyceride, as I said, that is a chemical that was used back in World War II as an anesthetic, but it is also a degreaser, which makes sense because it was probably used to degrease machinery
Right.
in Grumman, and this stuff was dumped into the ground, and now it's underneath our parking lot.
Wow.
So there's some stuff underneath our parking lot as well. I know that in my facility, we haven't been able to use drinking fountains since I've been there in 2007. So, and this has been, I can get you the link eventually, but it has been growing over 40 years, you know, uh, just slowly. And it's getting into different towns. It's in Bethpage, it's in Levittown, it's now it's creeping into Farmingdale. So this is a big deal. And you think that Flint is a big deal? This is becoming a big deal because you always talk about growing your own food. How are you going to grow your own food with contaminated groundwater?
Man, that is such a great point, and I'm glad you're bringing this to people's attention because it's something that everybody needs to really, really pay attention to. And many of you Patreon backers have done this. I think Tim Stack has sent in some articles about fracking and pipelines and stuff like that in Colorado because here's the deal. That will affect your personal life on a daily level more than just about anything else. Not taxes, not anything else. If you can't drink water, you're not allowed to use the drinking fountain at work. That's pretty scary. And what this says to me is that how much of this is being hidden from us? And more importantly, then, how much can we do? So the question is, so what can we do today? And we can do what you're doing, which is putting it out there for us, for people to talk about, people living in these communities. I would highly suggest if you live in, this is what, upstate New York?
This is actually Long Island.
Okay, Long Island. So if you're in Long Island and you're any of those cities that you just listed, I would strongly suggest contacting your representatives in those areas and go, what is going on with this groundwater? How are we going to clean this? And this, so it sounds like, though, but some politicians have allocated some money to clean this up. Is that correct?
Yes, okay. And this is actually a bipartisan issue. This is a bipartisan, effort. So it's not anything. Peter King is a Republican, actually in my district. So it's not a Republican versus Democrat kind of a thing.
Well, that's good, and that's something to get behind, and that's something that. So Peter King, and who's the other politician?
Tom Suozzi.
All right, so Peter King or Tom Suozzi, if either one of those people are your representatives, contact them and say that you support this legislation, and keep asking questions. And if there is any sort of town hall or public hearing or anything like that, show up for those things. Because I can tell you, one of the big thing that has shaken people, politicians up, is all of this response after Trump getting elected. Now, some people are like, online, were calling out myself and Jimmy Dore, like, oh, you still think it's better than had Hillary won? Trump is doing some really scary things. There's no two ways about it. But I can guarantee you this: had Hillary won, there would have been no resistance. There would have been no people standing room only at town hall meetings and stuff like that. Everybody would have just gone along with the status quo. So here's a thing to get involved with, because the corporations and the military the United States military, for the most part, is just used as an arm of the corporate machine. And so I would resist and tell your when they're scared. They're scared that everybody's paying attention now. They're scared that everybody's getting involved. That's what scares them the most. They want you just on Snapchat or yelling about the football game, or they want you. I mean, even what Kyle Kaepernick is doing, and I support that, and I'm glad people are talking about. He's protesting a legitimate thing, which is unarmed
Right.
black men getting killed. That's a good thing, and it's good for people to get involved. But they want you to just focus on that because they don't want you to know that you can't drink the water in your town.
Right. Well, I'm actually the Kaepernick thing. I'm focused on do the workers have a right to protest?
Right.
And Kaepernick also filed a grievance, and people were asking if he even has a right. Yes, he has a right to file a grievance, but he has an uphill battle to climb to prove that there was collusion against him. Just because a team says that they don't want him, that doesn't mean anything, especially since he opted out of his own contract. So
yeah, he does have an uphill climb. But you're right. This idea that a worker doesn't have a right to protest something, and he's not, he didn't protest playing. He didn't say, I'm not going to run the plays you're telling me to run. I'm not going to pass the ball to the guy he didn't say that. He just wants to take a knee during the national anthem, which, as we've already discussed before, but it bears repeating. Starting in 2009, the military paid the NFL to put the players on the field during the national anthem. They didn't used to be out there.
Right. And actually, what the Steelers did, they're supposed to be out on the field. So they actually talked to them, and they're not going to do that again. Right. I mean, there are certain things that you can and cannot do. The Postal Service, we struck back in 1972. We can't strike anymore. We got a tremendous amount of benefits. We can't strike, but we gave that away.
Right.
There is a no strike clause in our contract, but we have a pretty, good contract. But we did give up the right to strike on that. So, but there's one more thing that I want to mention in honor of last week. I think that you really need to have more than one day on National Mental Health Day. Mm. You have 18 million people who are affected each year. 9 million who have serious conditions serious enough to where they can't work or where they can't be involved in life events. And you only have 550,000, I believe, health professionals involved in psychiatric health.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, if you're talking about the military and honoring the military, and we can talk about the flag and the national anthem and the pledge and all that stuff at some other time, but 18 to 22 veterans commit suicide every single day.
Every day.
Every single day.
Like, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, this country needs more than just one day to recognize and acknowledge mental health, mental illness. It's a serious problem, and it affects. I mean, it obviously, the 22 vets a day killing themselves is awful. It definitely contributes to the gun violence. Also, that's a whole separate topic. But easy access to guns isn't good. But someone who suffers from mental illness and then isn't getting treatment, and then B, has easy access to guns, and this country just doesn't want to deal with stuff. It doesn't want to deal with it. We're just this whole country of a suburban family that just smiles on the outside and sweeps everything on the underneath the rug. While meanwhile, behind closed doors, there's alcoholism, there's abuse, there's there's mental illness that's being unaddressed. And so I appreciate you bringing that up. And I think and I've said, I've said on a personal note to people, if you're struggling with some mental illness or even just a personal issue, there's no shame in getting help. There's no shame in going to a therapist. There's no shame in going to support groups. It's actually the most courageous thing you can do, because stuffing it down or not dealing with it or self-medicating with drugs and alcohol, man, does that just compound the problem. And that's a
I want to say that the best thing for me was hearing other people say that they were bipolar, or they were dealing with depression, or they were dealing with addiction, or they were dealing with something. I am bipolar, and I'm telling anybody out there, you can get through it. You can get it done. Everybody wonders, what can you do? What can I do to improve the situation? As a progressive, what can I do? The first thing you can do is take care of yourself. Get enough sleep, eat, take care of yourself. Now, it's hard with all the barrages against healthcare right now. and pay attention to what Trump is doing with healthcare, because that's going to be a fight. But you take care of yourself and give yourself some credit. All the single mothers out here, Bella, as Stevie, all these single mothers out there, you're doing enough. You're doing enough, and on top, you're educating yourself, and and you are doing podcasts, and you're getting information out there. I appreciate every single person that does a podcast, and I appreciate every single mother out there, because you guys, that's a job. That is a job. I appreciate my mom, because I know that was a full time taking care of me when I didn't know what was going on, and I had a condition, and I was untreated, and my mom didn't know what the hell to do, and my dad didn't want her son or his son to admit he had a problem or whatever, because it wouldn't make me a man or whatever. It's a full-time job, and it's even bigger when you're dealing with a child that has an issue too. So, I appreciate all of you. Everybody has to give themselves credit where credit is due, and we all also have to stop retreating, and from that place of pain, and stop feeding into the fear and the pain, because the mainstream media will pour that stuff out.
Yeah.
It'll come out. They'll always talk about how you're different, how people are going to come after you because you're different. You're a woman, you're black, you're gay, you're bipolar, you're this, right. You're that.
Well, Dave, I really appreciate you bringing that up, man, and it's great too. I think you're right about hearing other people come forward and talk about it, and giving credit to.
I'm completely sane now. I had to do it once.
Thank you for putting on your tinfoil hat.
I'm gonna give one more shout out. Will Wheaton did me a great service one time, because I was feeling bummed. He also dealt with some issues, and he got goofy and put some googly face eyes on, and was all serious about healthcare is a serious issue we must deal with, and it just people, we need to laugh every once in a while, instead of just pain and oh God, what are we gonna do? And take a breath, sleep, have a cocktail, hang out with your girlfriend, wife, friends, whoever, and just give yourself a break every once in a while.
Good for you, man. Good for you for saying that, and that's true for everybody else out there. That's the other thing too. You're not alone. There's a lot of people struggling with PTSD or depression or bipolar or undiagnosed addiction or whatever. You're not alone, and there's a lot of resources out there. And I've benefited from therapy and support groups and stuff like that. Has really, really helped me out. And so thank you, Dave, for talking about that. And I really appreciate you. Appreciate everything you're doing. I appreciate all the shout outs. I appreciate you supporting this show. And check out Dave Denton, the Independent Outsider, on YouTube. Follow his show, like and subscribe to it. And maybe you'll get to see him. Yeah, you'll get to see him wear his tinfoil hat.
Tinfoil Hat Club. Well, I might be bringing it back. I had it one time. I might be bringing the Tinfoil Hat Club back. So.
All right, so guys, thank you so much.
It's real.
Yeah. Thanks for watching the show. Like and subscribe and share these videos with people. And, of course, go to patreon.com/Graham Elwood. If you don't want to donate there, there's a PayPal button on GrahamElwood.com. All my tour dates and everything are in the show notes below. Thank you so much. And remember, let's make Gotham great again.